Hey, I know you've heard many times that united we stand, divided we fall, but what does it really mean to be united? In fact, did you know that unity is actually something that can take a business to a whole nother level? It can take a family to a whole nother level. It can take anyone that is striving for something in sports or accomplishing any goal. There's something about people working together. It's one of the most powerful things on earth. But why is it that so many people struggle to actually do this and accomplish this to get to meaningful results? In fact, is there really a secret to unity? Is there a secret to teamwork? Is there a secret to getting people to work together? Well, I can tell you, as someone who's been running businesses over the last 2 decades, and at one time having, employees up to, 200 and, more than 200 employees, getting people to work together and getting people to actually, achieve something toward a common goal with all their differences and issues and all the backgrounds and childhoods and hurts and issues that people have come through, and then somehow getting all of them to come to one common goal. Isn't it interesting when you think about the military, or you think about athletics, as I talked about, that they focus so much on team because they know when you go into battle, if you don't have something that really begins to get people to work together, when it's all said and done, you won't be able to accomplish the victory. You won't be able to just overcome whatever comes up if everyone is not aligned. It's an interesting thing when you saw many different times where there was, some teams that may have not been as good as another team, but they were better at working together. I'm reminded of the Warriors when they, started to win championships. They really had this whole tagline about strength in numbers, right? How can we begin to do things by everybody getting in their proper place and the number of individuals working together? But we've seen this with many different things, right? We've seen this in wars. We've seen this in, different things that were done in business. People just had a better team. They had a better group of people who was able to get in their proper place and work together. And so when you think about this, I want you to understand one of the greatest examples of unity is right among us, crawling around on the ground all the time. And that is the ant family. We learn a lot from them, but a lot of times I like to study the ant because the ant is such a powerful thing. It's even mentioned in scripture. It says, "Consider the ant, thou sluggard, consider her ways and be wise." And talking about how she has no ruler, no guide, and yet she's able to gather all her meat in the summer and get prepared for the harvest, and how these ants work together. And we can see this is one of the most stunning examples of what unity looks like. Now, let me go to my whiteboard for a minute. I want you to understand, we talk about this word unity. And I want you to consider for a minute that, well, before I go to my whiteboard, I want you to understand this. When you think about unity, there's a difference between having unity, right? Which you talk about maybe the state of unity, the state of, people agreeing to do something together. But there's another thing in being united, right? United. So I want to call out to you the difference between the two, because when we think about unity, unity is something that sometimes it's thrown around like we need to see more unity in our community. We need to see more unity, over here and over there. But being united is a whole nother level. So let's look at these words real quick. Let's go to the whiteboard here. And when you think about unity, right, this is something that we can show at different moments. But when we get to the point where you have a group of people that is united, this is a whole nother level. And I can tell you that I really am grateful for all the times that I've been able to work with a team of people. I got a team of people that's been with me for, most of them for, over 20 years working together in business. And it is not easy to keep everyone aligned. And it's interesting to go back to my whiteboard for a minute. It's different to go to from moments, right? Moments of unity to a state of being united. So what we want this state of being united, right? Something that has become more of a way of life, right? So this is what we want, because when it becomes a way of life, then you can adjust to the dynamics that might come up. And that could be in a business, could be in a household. You see a couple that is united. if anyone is going to become united, it means it's going to have to be some growth and maturity. It's something you got to be willing to give up. It's something you got to be willing to sacrifice. You have to be able to, get away from your own independent individual thinking and think about the greater whole. You have to be able to think about what you can do together. And what I love about when you study ants is that you see that this is just innate in their being, right? The DNA of an ant is to be united and to work together with its fellow ant. When you think about pheromones, you think about how they just operate. It's one of the most magnificent things. And because they're so united, and what's so amazing, right? The thing that is the smallest is able to accomplish some of the biggest things. So it shows you it's not all about how large your competitor is in business. It's not about how big that feat is that you're trying to accomplish in your personal life. It's not that goal that is so much larger than you. It's can you assemble a network and a team? That's why we often say it's not what you know, but who you know, right? Who do you know? When you know the right person, you begin to grow your network, right? There's a network around you that helps you to grow, right? Grow your opportunities, grow your way and your path towards a specific thing. That is the secret. So we have to learn, how do we build a network? How do we send out pheromones to the right things that will lead us to the objectives and the outcomes that we want in life? People spend too much time trying to figure out how to, do this and do this and do that, instead of learning how to become the person that can see the things that are needed and then finding out the right person to connect with and build a network that will allow you to get where you're trying to go faster, because many times someone has already done what you're trying to do. Something you hate doing, someone else loves to do. And when you connect the two, you end up with a wonderful, wonderful strategic advantage that can create new opportunities in your life, career, and your business. I want to show you a video here just for some interesting things. We're going to just take a trip for a minute. I want you to understand some things so powerful about an ant. And we're going to study this first one about an anthill. And sometimes you just see this little anthill above the ground. You just, you just kind of look at it, walk over it. I've seen these from time to time, but to understand the intricate detail of what is going on and what is really coming out of the ground there, and that there's so many examples of unity that lie beneath the surface. And that's why when you see a successful company, a successful marriage, a successful team, when you see, all of these different things above the surface, there's something below the surface that you don't see. Someone had to be working hard. I'm going to show you an example of that now. Let's take a look at this.
At first glance, a fire ant hill, or mound as it's properly called, looks impossibly small. And yet, a colony of up to 250,000 ants call it home.
Wow.
But here's the secret. That mound is just the tip of an enormous iceberg. So let's take a closer look at what's inside an anthill.
This is awesome.
The mound is really the top of an enormous underground structure, the nest, which is basically a giant nursery, a nice, cozy place to raise babies. A lot of babies. Their mother, the queen, roams around the nest while laying 1,500 eggs a day.
Wow.
Now, all those baby ants need to live in a narrow temperature range to grow. So that nest sports temperature-controlled rooms, and it does so without the help of an AC unit. The secret is in the design. The nest is arranged like an ice cream cone.
Let's pause for a minute. I want you to think for a minute that the intricate detail. Look at all of the life that is happening in the darkness. And I want you to understand, when you have the right team, things look dark to everyone else, but there could be a lot of life actually being created because people don't understand what you're doing, in the areas that no one can see. And so here, they're about to go deeper into this about the network and the infrastructure. There is actually a design, right, to the way that these things are built for temperature control, for the ability to grow more of the colony, right? And so we actually, when you're working together, you're creating unity, you actually create an environment to grow more people to have the same mindset. So you want to create and design an environment that has the right temperature or environment or atmosphere for other people like-minded to be born. Now, I know we're talking about ants right now, but I want you to think about this. There's an environment created in a household. There's an environment created in a business. There's an environment created on a team. And it all starts with the way you designed the environment, right? Very important. Let's go back into this. Very, very
Top,
good.
you have the mound, the ice cream, as it were. Because it's above the surface, it warms from the heat of the sun. So the babies can snuggle up in toasty chambers networked throughout the mound. But they can't stay there all day or they'd get too hot. That's where the cone part of the ice cream cone comes in. The mound is connected to several vertical shafts that plunge up to 2 meters beneath the ground.
Wow.
That's taller than most humans. Throughout the day, adult ants ferry the babies up and down the shafts, chasing that perfect temperature for their young charges. The nest also sports dozens of tapering tunnels that branch off from these main shafts.
All right,
These
let's stop for a minute. Let's stop for a minute. So keep in mind, the ants are going down and they're searching for the right temperature for the younger ants to be able to survive. They're searching for the right environment for someone else. Now, I want you to think about this. When you think about unity, right, what makes this such a strong network, an example of unity, because all of these ants are thinking about how to create an environment for other ants to survive and to grow. And this is what we have to be able to do. This is where people really miss it. This is why so many people can't arrive at unity, because unity to them means, why can't I get everyone to do what I want them to do? Instead of learning, how do I create an environment for someone else to be able to do the things that they want to do within the framework of the mission or the goal or the outcome we're striving for. So I want you to notice this, just the whole effort that's being done and shown here, just to try to get something to be in the right situation so that other ants or the other part of the team can flourish and grow. So this is a great attribute of unity, right? Let's go back here.
Chambers where the ants rest, eat, and feed the babies until it's time to move the little ones once again. Now, there's one more type of tunnel inside the nest, but only a few ants ever use it. You see, someone needs to find food for the rest of the colony, but running around outside the nest is dangerous business. That's where forager tunnels come in.
Nice.
These are a couple of horizontal passages buried just a few centimeters from the surface. But they run throughout the entire territory, which can cover up to 185 square meters of land. By scurrying through these passageways, the scouts can stay underground as long as possible. But unfortunately, the nest and all its roads can't protect the ants from every threat. It turns out all sorts of critters sneak inside fire ant nests. And while many of them...
Let's stop here. So I want you to notice here, so consider this, that these are separate teams within one team, right? So we've got the young, then we've got those as temperature searchers trying to find the right temperatures. Then we got those that are running through certain canals to go find food. Now, this lets you know, when you have examples of unity, you always will have roles. And people have to be willing to accept those roles. Imagine if someone doesn't want to do their role, and that role is what's best for the colony, it's what's best for the team, it's what's best for the marriage, it's what's best for the family, it's what's best for the sports team, it's what's best for whatever you're trying to accomplish. So we have to be willing to focus and be willing to do our role if we really want the success. Some ants are willing to go and risk their life to bring food to the rest of the colony, not to go and eat themselves, but to go bring food back. So this is the mentality, right? This is a utility. So we might see moments of unity in certain animals, right? Where they'll do something for a minute. Then you see some animals, like, they'll kill their own young, or they'll do all kind of crazy stuff. When you study animals, it's very, very fascinating. But this is a animal group that just in their DNA, they already come out thinking about how to work in teams, and you can see why it generates so much results. So here they are on the run, putting their life in danger. Let's continue.
Some are actually harmless, others are horrible house guests. For example, beetles burrow into the nest and devour the eggs and larvae. But invaders aren't the only threat to the colony. Occasionally, clueless humans or major floods disturb the nest. And when that happens, the fire ants have only one option: leave. Once a year, on average, the colony will move out and build an entirely new nest from scratch.
Wow.
And best of all, they only need a few days to do it.
All right, check
That's
this
right.
out.
Practically overnight, meters upon meters of tunnels can pop up in your yard. And all you'll notice is a tiny mound.
Wow. Now, isn't that powerful? So they can create meters and meters of, like, building whole cities in a few days. And all you see is this little mound, like, wow, there's an ant mound. But next time you see one of those, just understand there's a full city below because there's so many teams that are working together. So my point is, when you see above the surface success in different ways, you see, a group of people that have showcased a level of success. A lot of times you begin to look deeper, you'll see that somewhere in there, if you arrive at the highest levels of success, some sort of system has been built that allows people to work together in a common way where people understand their roles, they understand what they're supposed to be doing. People understand what the mission is, what the goal is, what the outcome is, and they found a way to align themselves with that particular mission and goal. And so this is so important. And when everyone has that heart, right, it's so much harder to defeat something that is working together, because if something happens to one just steps in its place. If someone gets sick, another one is ready to go. And because everyone is so well defined and every effort is so well defined, you can see the roles are so clear, it allows you quickly to train someone else to come in. Right? It's time for you to go find food. It's time for you to go check temperature. It's time for you to go and move the young into the environment that allows them to grow, to make sure they don't get too hot from the sun. Everyone knows their role, right? Now, I want you to see this fascinating video of what ants will actually do, even if there's a gap too wide or too large where they can't cross, but how innovative and how well they work together to bridge the gap. Check this out. Look at this. Look at how they're stacking onto each other and holding on to each other. Got one team that they had to go all the way at the bottom to get to the top of that tree side, and some that's on the wood side. And now watch how they're slowly beginning to work together. One is leaning out. I mean, what an example of teamwork. Talk about bridging the gap. That gap there represents things that we're trying to overcome, right? Things that we couldn't do by ourselves. Might be something we don't know in our personal life, something we don't know in business. Wow, check this out. Look at this, look at this. And look at how they're connecting. And next thing you know, they're sacrificing to create a bridge. And this is going to allow to see those other ants now be able to cross over to the other side, because some ants are sacrificing for that bridge to be formed. So such a selfless act to allow the whole colony to win. Powerful. What an example. Now we have a bridge. You can see bridging the gap. Now the bridge is getting stronger as everyone works together. And now any of the ants can get to the other side. Wow, wow. Talk about bridging the gap, right? So taking that gap and turning that gap into a bridge. And this is what unity is able to do. When you have unity, something that was a gap for one person, they can't cross over. They start learning how through unity, we can bring everyone else along. We can find a way for everyone to fit. We can find a way for people to get to the other side. This is what we have to think about. We have to always be thinking about the whole, the colony, the team you're on. So make sure that you know what team you're a part of, whether you're building one or you're providing your skills and energy toward a team you believe in, to make sure these are the type of attributes we have to have. Now I want to show you one more of these where these ants came together and, they had to get across the water. You can hear sometime that water comes in and floods out the ants. I want you to see an example of how powerful this is and how ants can even create their own raft working together again. Let's take a look at this. Now here was somebody out. Now look at that. Those are all ants that have come together and they are floating across. They created their own little raft. It's just amazing. Like you wouldn't even notice, but that is a bunch of ants. Check it out. Look at that. Wow. All those ants have come together to create a raft so that everyone can float across. So this is what we're talking about. This is what we mean when we talk about unity and togetherness. And so I hope you see there's so much power in unity, and we have to understand that there's a lot of examples, especially in God's wonderful creation. We can see so many examples of attributes that are important for all of us as humans to be more successful in life, in our career, as well as in business. And so as we seek to be the CEO of our life, as we begin to realize that you run the business of you, make sure that in running the business of you, you realize that that business often includes other people. And the better you are at working together with those people, the more that you will accomplish, because you can do more together than you can do alone. Until next time, I'm Michael E. Parker. Make sure you keep on charging, expanding, and overcoming. I'll see you next time.